Good morning, good morning. Do you have your coffee? It's a good day for coffee. You know what else is a good day for coffee? Other days. They're good for coffee too. So, is it my imagination or is there more news? I mean, there's news all over the place. It's like a newsy day. But you know what you don't get enough of with the news? Let me tell you what you don't get enough of in the news. Good news. You don't get enough optimism. So I'm going to give you your little dose of optimism for the day, okay? First, I'd like to, excuse me, I'll start by reminding you how many predictions I've gotten correct recently, because that will give you confidence that the next thing I say, which is going to be optimistic, could also be true as well. Doesn't mean it is, but the odds are better if I've got a good track record. So forget about all the stuff that I wrote about in Win Bigly, the correct predictions about Trump getting nominated and getting elected and all that. So there were a bunch of good predictions in there. But more recently, here are some that are coming to fruition. In 2004, I wrote a book called The Religion War, which is a fictional book in which it predicts a future about now in which the terrorists get small drones and they put chemical weapons on them and attack the homeland. Today, some official with the Homeland Security said that's exactly what's going to happen, and it's imminent. So what I predicted in 2004 is now considered inevitable and imminent, meaning that we'll see drone attacks on public places. That's not the good news. Further to that, I believe that in our lifetime, we're going to see an end to large outdoor gatherings. Let me say that again. In my lifetime, and certainly in yours, because most of you are younger, we will see the end of outdoor gatherings. Yeah, so you won't see stadium gatherings, you won't see any of that anymore. And the reason will be the drone attacks. There's almost no way to stop it. All right, so that's bad news. All right, so here's some predictions I got correct. The first time the Republicans tried to pass health care, I said it will not pass because it fails on the contrast level, and it failed. Contrast with Obamacare. I predicted also that the second health care bill would fail. I said 100% chance it would fail, and it has. Right, so I'm right about the drones all the way back to 2004, before they even really were a thing. They didn't even exist as a real product when I predicted all this. I also predicted that President Trump's famous unpredictability would be an advantage with North Korea. Now, I may not be the only person who ever said that, but I don't remember anybody saying it as clearly as I said it and as early. So there may have been other people. It just seems like there would have been. But now people are just generally saying, yes, that's true. His unpredictability is definitely an asset. All right. That was not an obvious statement when I was first saying it. The other thing I said more than a year ago is that all the evidence is that the North Korean leader, we now call him Lil Rocket Man, I made it LIL with an apostrophe. The president hasn't done that, but I'm sure he wants to do that. But I was saying over a year ago that the North Korean leader is rational and will act rationally if we create a situation where we're causing him to change. And that seems to be now the dominant opinion. So the dominant opinion is that he is rational, and that, in fact, there was a story that yesterday that North Korea is asking Republicans to please explain President Trump, because they can't figure out where he's coming from, which is exactly what he wanted them to be worried about. So I believe it's true that as of today, there's probably more fear in North Korea of their imminent death than at any time in Little Rocket Man's life. So, in my opinion, he is more afraid of dying soon than he has ever been in his life. You know, unless there's been some murder attacks in his country we don't know about. And he doesn't know what our next move is. Now, the other thing I predicted is that the only way we could get to the next level with North Korea would not be country on country negotiating or pressure. Rather, I said that the real problem is the individual companies, both in China and other places, that are trading with North Korea. So we see in the news today, Chinese government orders all North Korean firms to close in China. All. Chinese government orders all North Korean firms to close in China. Putting them out of business. And I had predicted that President Trump would negotiate with North Korea differently than anyone has in the past. In the past, we tended to say stuff like, if you don't give us what we want, meaning if you don't stop the nukes, we will do bad things to you. We'll do bad things to your economy and maybe militarily too. North Korea just kept calling our bluff. So every time we said, hey, we'll squeeze your economy, they said, yeah, you might squeeze it a little bit, but we'll wait you out. President Trump now knows that they cannot be moved by bluffs. I believe, too, that they cannot be persuaded by bluffs. So this time, he's giving them reality. Because if you can't be moved by a bluff, the only thing you have left, the only tool you have left is reality. So President Trump just went after, presumably, these individual companies, both Chinese and North Korean, went after probably their CEOs. I would assume that we went after their CEOs, and that probably every one of the CEOs of the companies dealing with North Korea have gotten, either directly or indirectly, some kind of a mafia-like warning that, yeah, you can keep dealing with North Korea, but there's some bad things coming your way if you do, and you're not going to see it coming. But if you want to keep doing it, but there will be some bad things coming your way. Have you heard of the CIA? We've got stuff. You know, your life is just going to get a little bit harder after this, and you'll never see us coming. But hey, if you want to keep doing it, go ahead. So as I predicted, it would be the first time that a country went to war with corporations directly. Now, of course, China has recently stepped up and said, whoa, you know, you can't do this to you can't do this to Chinese companies. We'll do it ourselves. But I guarantee you that the only choice China had was to either screw their own companies while we watch, or, here's the fun part, or they could watch the United States screw Chinese companies while China watched. So somebody was going to be watching, and somebody was going to do the screwing. That's the only choice they had. All right? I believe other governments before President Trump would have said, hey, would you please do something to these companies? We'd sure appreciate it. And then China would say, we're doing some stuff. You don't need to know the details, and then nothing would happen. But here we just gave them two choices. Put your own companies out of business, or watch us do it right in front of you. Because we weren't going to not do it. That was off the table. It was no longer even a slight option that we were not going to go after those companies directly. And when you go after a company directly, you're going after the CEO, right? So those CEOs are now, I would hope, at risk of their life. meaning that the CEOs of those companies probably thought they would be killed. And if we weren't serious about killing them, we should have been, right? So I think some of those CEOs might have suffered some accidents, if China had not stepped up to say, okay, how about we close down our companies and you watch. That's, that'd be the better situation here. Then the other things that I've predicted, so now you've seen the things that I've predicted correctly, and you've seen that some of them are really pretty far out there. I mean, I don't think many people were predicting the things that I just predicted. So my big prediction has been that President Trump will be labeled effective, even if you don't like what he's doing, by the end of this year. In other words, I predicted an arc that would start with, hey, he's Hitler, and would turn into, no, he's incompetent, and then it would drift into, okay, he's getting a lot of stuff done, but we don't like it. On healthcare, apparently the president is seriously considering Rand Paul's idea of something like an executive order. Apparently there's some gray area about what's an executive order. But he could authorize selling of insurance across state lines in the context of citizens forming buying groups, so that the citizens could have more buying and negotiating power by forming their own collectives and then negotiating across state lines. Now, apparently that's something the president can do, and perhaps there are other things he can do by executive order as well. So we might see some interesting things there. Now, you're seeing that the economy looks good. You're seeing that jobs look good. You're seeing that companies seem to be moving back to the United States. So in all likelihood, you're going to see a strong economy, and it's starting to look like something good is going to happen on taxes. I don't think it'll look exactly like the plan that's out there, but at least the corporate stuff is likely to change, and that's going to give a boost to the economy. So if you're keeping score, President Trump is likely to be presiding over the best employment we've ever had, the highest stock market we've ever had. He's probably going to make some improvements on healthcare just from the president's chair, which will give credit to him, even if the bigger healthcare stuff hasn't yet passed. Although I think it will. I think we'll see something by spring. You're going to see that the president handled two disasters well so far. I think Puerto Rico is still a question mark. To me, that doesn't look like it's handled well, but that may have more to do with the structural problems of just getting there. So we don't know if the government's doing a bad job or it's just a little extra hard because Puerto Rico is such a mess, etc. But imagine, if you will, that the president said, let's rebuild Puerto Rico and make it a state. Let's forgive their debt and we'll just make them a state, and then we'll have better resources to fix everything up. So imagine, if you will, that the president added a state and then rebuilt it, because he's a builder, and turned it into basically Hawaii too, more of a luxury destination with better jobs, etc. So there's a good chance that Puerto Rico could be rebuilt hurricane-proof and have really good destination appeal. So you're going to see taxes good. You'll see some improvement on healthcare. You might see North Korea being put under control. Jobs good. I mean, basically, even as the country has been complaining that, hey, it's going to be a race war and everything's going to hell, the truth is we have been for some time now just teetering on a golden age. I mean, we are so close to absolutely everything going right that we've never seen anything like this. I mean, think about it. You have never seen an environment this perfectly set up for success. Some of this, and maybe a lot of it, is the president, right? Because he does create that situation. Yeah, except the drone attacks will be a nagging problem, but otherwise, in terms of the things the president can control, I think we're on the cusp of a golden age. I'm going to sign off now. I think I've said enough. And remember, don't win small. Don't win small. If you can, win bigly. The book that Publishers Weekly likes a lot. They just reviewed it. You'll like it a lot too. All right. Remember, don't win small if you can win bigly.